The 5 yogas. Jnana Yoga. Jnana, jnana or jnana, as it is pronounced in different parts of India, is the yoga of knowledge. The root jna. Gyna, na, Russian's na, corresponds to the roots of the words in modern English, to know, in German kennen, Anglo-Saxon, knawen, Latin, gnosia, Greek zero. Jnana Yoga leads us toward perfection, by changing our knowledge both in relation to ourselves and in relation to the world surrounding us. This is the yoga of men of the intellectual way. It liberates the human mind from the fetters of an illusory concept of the world, leading to true knowledge, showing the fundamental laws of the universe. Jnana Yoga uses all of the methods of Raja Yoga. Starting from the affirmation that a weak human mind, brought up in the contemplation of illusions, will never solve the enigmas of life. That this demands a better instrument, specially designed for the task. Together therefore with the study of the principles lying at the basis of things, Jnana Yoga requires a special work on the education of mind. Our mind is trained for contemplation, for concentration, for thinking in new and unaccustomed directions, and on new planes. Connected not with the outward aspect of things, but with their inner fundamental principles. Above all, mind is trained to think quickly and exactly, always keeping in view the essential and wasting no time on external or unimportant details. Jnana Yoga starts from the fact that the chief cause of human misfortune and disaster is avidya, ignorance. The object of Jnana Yoga is therefore to overcome avidya, and bring us all nearer to what is called Brahma Vidya, Hairos, or divine knowledge. The aim of Jnana Yoga is the liberation of human mind from these limited conditions of knowledge, in which it is placed by forms of sense perception, and by logical thinking based on opposites or dualism. From the point of view of Jnana Yoga, one must first learn right thinking. Right thinking, and the broadening of ideas and concepts that lead to the broadening of perception. While the broadening of perception must finally lead to a change in sensation, that is to the abolition of all false and illusory sensations. Indian teachers, gurus, do not aim at making their disciples accumulate as much miscellaneous knowledge as possible. On the contrary, they want their followers to see in everything they study, however small it might be, the principles that lie at the basis of all things. Usually the disciple is given for meditation, either some verse from ancient scriptures, or some symbol, and then meditates for a year, 2 years, possibly even for 10 years. From time to time bringing to a teacher the results of their reflections. This would seem strange to Western minds, which always aim at going ever forward, but may possibly be the right method for penetrating the root of ideas, instead of acquiring a superficial acquaintance with their external side by making an enormous mental collection of verbiage and facts. In studying Jnana Yoga, one sees clearly that yoga cannot be only a method. A right path must necessarily lead to certain truths, and in expounding a method it is impossible not to touch upon these truths. Nevertheless, it must be remembered that by its very nature yoga cannot be a doctrine, and there can therefore be no synopsis or general outline of the ideas of Jnana Yoga. In using yoga as a method, one must themselves find, feel and realize the truths that form the content of the philosophy of yogis. The same truths received in the form of a doctrine from another person, or from books will not have the same effect upon mind and soul, as truths that one has encountered for themselves, truths they have long sought for, and long struggled with before accepting them. Jnana Yoga teaches that the truth for an individual can only be that which they have felt as truth. Furthermore, it teaches one to verify one truth by another, to ascend slowly towards the summit of knowledge, never losing sight of the point of departure, and constantly returning to it, in order to preserve the right orientation. Jnana Yoga teaches that the truths realized by a logical mind, educated on the observation of a three-dimensional world, are not truths at all from the point of view of higher consciousness. Jnana Yoga teaches one to distrust themselves, to distrust their sensations, mental images, concepts, ideas, thoughts and words. Above all to distrust verbosity, to verify everything, and always to look around at every step, to demand that everything found should accord with the testimony of experience, with fundamental principles. The ideas of Jnana Yoga have been transmitted up until now in symbolic form only. The images of the Indian panthology and figures of Indian mythology contain many ideas of jnana yoga. However, the understanding of them requires an oral tradition and commentary. The study of jnana yoga from books is difficult, because there exist a whole series of principles that have never been expounded in writing. Indications of these and even some definitions of them can be found in books. However, the indications are intelligible only to those who have received direct tuition. The difficulty of understanding these principles is particularly great because it is not enough to understand them intellectually. It is necessary to learn to apply and use them, for the division and classification not only of abstract ideas, but also of concrete things and occurrences that one meets with in ordinary life. The idea of Dharma in one of its meanings in Indian philosophy is an introduction to the study of these principles that may be called the principle of relativity. The principle of relativity in the science of yogis has nothing, however, in common with the principle of relativity in modern physics, and is studied not in its application to one class of phenomena only, but in relation to all the phenomena of the universe, on all planes and levels. Hence, by penetrating everything, it connects everything into one singular whole. What we have covered, therefore, is a short summary of what can be learned about yoga from existing and generally accessible literature in European languages. However, in order to understand rightly the meaning and significance of the different yogas, it is necessary to realize clearly that all 5 yogas, that is each one separately, are an abbreviation and adaptation for different types of people of one and the same system. This system is taught orally in particular schools that differ from the yogis schools, as much as the yogis schools differ from monasteries. The system has no name and has never been made public, therefore allusions to it are rarely met with in Eastern writings. Much of what has been ascribed to yoga belongs in reality to this system. At the same time, the system cannot be regarded simply as a combination of the 5 yogas. All the yogas have originated from this system, and each of the yogas is in a sense a one-sided understanding of it. One is wider, another is narrower, but all of them expound one and the same system. The combination of all 5 yogas does not reconstruct the system, because it contains many ideas, principles, and methods that do not enter into any of the yogas. We shall continue to explore fragments of this system in our search.